Welcome back to part 3 of the Python Crash course. We're going to end things here by talking about functions and some special methods you can use off of Python objects. Let's jump back to that Jupyter notebook and finish up. Alright, let's start off by talking about functions and how you can create your own custom functions. The key word when creating a function is def, and then whatever you want to call the function. So we'll say my underscore func for func. And this is going to be a really simple function. It's not going to take any parameters. We have a colon there. And then whatever you want to have happen when you call the function. So for example, print hello. And then make sure to run this. So now the function's been defined. I can see here the cell's been run. And then I can actually call my func. And I see hello back. Now a common point of confusion sometimes is you'll just type my func, run this, and it will report back what the function actually is. So it'll say, oh, my func, that's a function. It's under the main file, .myfunc. What you actually want to do is if you want to execute the function, have those open and close parentheses there. If you would like to add parameters to a function, for example, let's give a parameter name, then it will intake, for example, hello, and a simple way I can pass that in is plus name. So now I'm going to run this, redefine it, and then say myfunc and pass in Jose. If I run this, it says hello Jose. So what that's doing is concatenating these strings together. So that's a little special method you can use for strings. And I can add a space in there, run these two again, and now I see hello Jose. If I don't actually provide one here, I will get an error. It'll say type error, and it'll actually say, hey, I'm missing one required positional argument called name. If you want to have a default parameter or argument value, you can just say name is equal to, and we'll say, for example, no name. And then I'm going to run this. And now, if I just pass this in with Jose, it will still work. It'll say hello Jose. But if I, for some reason, forget, it's going to go to the default value. So I can run this, and then it'll say hello, no name. And that's the basics of functions. And real quickly, if you want to have a doc string in your function, you can do it with a set of triple quotes. These can be either double or single. And this is where you can describe what the function does. So I can say something like, this prints out the username. And then I'm going to do Shift Enter to run that. And now, with my own function, I can do Shift Tab, and it'll say the signature of the function and then the doc string. This prints out the username. So I can see here that it actually looks for the documentation string for this function whenever I call Shift Tab, which is kind of a nice feature. All right, so let's actually show you one last function that will kind of show a more realistic example. So I'll say def square, and it takes in some value x, and then it's going to return x. So what's the difference between print and return? So print just displays the actual value. Return allows you to save the actual object or whatever the function happens to do and save it to a variable. So my little function here, square, is going to take some sort of number x, and then it's going to return the square of it. So I'm going to say result is equal to square of 2. And then if I check on my results, I notice that it's 4. So with the return keyword, I can actually save this as a variable. If I just printed this, so if I just said print and put that there, then what would have happened was I would get none back. So if I rerun these, I get back nothing as a result. So notice it says result is equal to square 2, and when I run this, it prints it out. But then when I ask for what result was, it's actually none. And if you check the type of result, it'll say it's a none type. The reason for that being is that it only printed out the value 4, it didn't actually return it. And the only way I can save it is if I return it. So the only way I can do the assignment to a new variable is by using that keyword return. And then rerunning all this, notice if I run this again, I don't actually see the printed out result because I was returning it in order to save it to this variable result, which means I have 4, and if I check the type of result now, I get this integer type. Okay, now let's discuss lambda expressions. Lambda expressions is just a way you can quickly type an anonymous function. That's also another name for it. Essentially, if you only plan on using a function one time, maybe you don't want to rewrite the entire function, give it a formal name, use the DEF. You just want something kind of quick and easy. So the way you can do that is, for example, if I have DEF, we'll call this times 2. It takes in some variable, var, and then it's going to return var times 2. So for example, I can say times 2, and notice I can use tab to autocomplete that, so it's a little faster. So it says times 2, and it returns 20 for me. Notice that it's returning it, not printing it out. That's why I have that a little out next to that cell. The way I can use a lambda expression to rewrite this is the following. Use the lambda keyword, the input, colon, and then you want what you want the output to be. So for example, var times 2. And now this will behave really similar to the function. For now, it's not really clear how to use these. We need to use these along with another outside function. So we'll talk about this later on in the course when it shows up, but I just want you to be aware of what the lambda expression is, essentially an anonymous function. So it's a different way of rewriting this whole thing in just one go. But the issue here is I can only call this one time. I don't have a name assigned to it. So what's the actual relationship between this and this? Well, I can kind of convert this function to show you. First thing I need to do is take away the name, take away this def keyword, replace it with lambda, take away these parentheses, take away the return keyword, and then put it all in one line. And that's how you can convert a function to a lambda expression. And later on throughout the course, if we ever use a lambda expression, I'll touch in a little more detail on how we actually use this. I just want you to see it for now. All right, moving along, I want to talk about a few methods that are going to be useful to you throughout the course. So methods on strings. I'm going to create a string called st, and it's going to say, hello, my name is Sam with a capital S. If you ever want to lowercase everything in a string, and just say s.lower, close parentheses here, and it returns back everything lowercased in that string. So notice here, s on Sam has been lowercased. We've seen upper before. It's the exact same thing, except it uppercases everything. A really useful method is split, which is going to split by default on white space and return a list. So it splits that string into a list based off the white space. If you actually want to split on a particular string value, you can clarify that as well. For example, I'm going to create a tweet here, and later on we'll see how we can do Spark streaming for tweets. But I'm going to say hello, hashtag sports, run that. And then I'm going to, if I just say split, by default it splits on white space. So it splits hello and then hashtag sports. But maybe I actually want to split on hashtag, so I want to analyze Twitter somehow. Well, I can just pass in hashtag there, and then it's going to split on the hashtag. And notice how now the hashtag is no longer in this list because that is what was split on. And then if I want to grab the actual item from this that was in the hashtag, assuming that the hashtag is all the way at the end, I could just say something like -1. And then that returns the string sports. Obviously, not every case will have a hashtag all the way at the end of the string, but this is kind of just to show you a little more realistic of an example of how you can actually use split. Okay, a couple more things I want to show you is how you can grab the keys and items of a dictionary. So just quickly now, if I create a dictionary with K1, V1, so key 1, value 1, and then maybe K2, V2. If I want to grab all the keys in the dictionary, I can just say d.keys, and I get this dictionary keys where I see K1, K2. If I want to grab all the items, I can just grab these kind of tuple item pairs. So K2, V2, K1, V1. Note that the order here is not retained. Again, dictionaries do not retain any order. We won't actually see these basically at all throughout the course, but just something to be aware of in case while you're using Stack Overflow or something, you kind of run into these on your own. Finally, I want to show how you can pop something off of a list or check if something is inside of a list. I'll say my list is equal to 1, 2, 3. If I want to grab and remove the last item in a list, I can say a new variable last is equal to my list and then say .pop close parentheses. And now if I check my list, it's missing that last item, that number 3, and I've saved it to this variable last. So that's how you can remove an item from a list, at least the last item, If you want to remove an item at a specific index, you can just pass that into pop. So for example, let's redefine my list again as 1, 2, 3. So if I check my list, I have all 3 numbers there. And then I want to pop off the first element. Well, I'll say pop, and then pass in the index 0 to indicate that I want to pop off the first element. And I'm going to save that as now first. Run this. I can check my list, just have 2 and 3, and then I can check first, and it's 1. If I want to check if an item is inside of a list, I can just use the in operator. So I can say x in 1, 2, 3. That returns false. If I ask for 1 in the list 1, 2, 3, that returns true. So I could also say something like 2 in my list that I defined earlier, and that also returns true because my list is now 2 and 3. Coming up next, we have a really quick review exercise notebook that's optional in case you just want to clarify and make sure that you really understood everything we were talking about here. Totally optional, you don't have to do it, but it would be a quick review just to confirm that you understood everything and you're ready to go to talking about Spark and Python and data frames and all that cool stuff. Thanks everybody, and I'll see you at the next lecture.